Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, part 2 and the conclusion of our custom case interior. Well, you may be wondering why waste all that time and effort to mark out and cut on a scrap that you're not even going to use. Well, the whole purpose for this is there is multiple items in this case. And if you try to do that trial and error where you're cutting and adjusting and cutting and adjusting to make sure that you get the perfect fit that you like, it's easy to go too far and make it too big and make it sloppy, and in which case you don't like it, and now let's say it's your third cut in, then what do? You either live with it or have to start all over, and then you've wasted way more than what you would have on the piece of scrap MDF where you could lay everything out and know that you're going to have it fit. So now that you have it all traced out on your insert and you like the way it looks, you don't need a video of it, you don't need to see me do it. Take it over to the scroll saw, use a good new sharp blade and cut out all of the holes for your insert. Well, now that you have all of your cutouts done, you just want to test fit to make sure that everything fits in the way you want. And don't be disappointed or upset if some of them don't fit the way that you thought that they would, because sometimes that just happens. And it's just a matter of taking over to the saw and just making a little bit of an adjustment. This one here, you know what, that's not bad. I was going to say that one's a bit tight. And it is a bit tight. I think I'll be adjusting this one just a touch. But let's test everything else to make sure that everything else fits in just the way we want it to. And once you're happy with the way that everything fits, we can move on to some other parts, because this case lends itself to a different type of I guess divot or indentation for parts, and for that we need to head over to the router table. Before we do that, however, you'll note that some of these pieces here, like the handle of the Remington and the handle and the top end by the hammer of the Beretta, they protrude outside of our top piece of MDF, and because of that it doesn't allow the lid to close. And that as well is not a big panic, because in this particular case, all we're going to do is, while we have all of these pieces in place here, we want to, on the lower section of MDF, like say for the Remington here, for example, it's much thicker by the handle. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark it right here, an outline for our handle, and we're going to redraw our line so that it can fit the handle of the Remington. And now we will cut this out of the bottom piece of MDF. We'll do the same for the Beretta, where the handle is much thicker than the barrel of the weapon. This one actually is not too much thicker. So what we will probably do with this is we'll end up having to cut the entire cutout into the bottom section to let that Beretta sink down in the case. So let's cut this section here first, and we'll cut the Beretta outline out of the bottom piece of MDF. And once we get those done, then we can head over to the router table and I'll show you what I'm talking about with the other divot that will hold this one final piece. Well, we have it now so that the lid closes properly, and that's a good thing. We also have it so that everything in here fits the way that I like it, but there is one more part that we need to put in, and that would be this rod. And this is where I was talking about the router table earlier in the build. And what we need to do is we need to route a little groove right along this part right here that is going to house our little push rod. Well, I took some measurements and I know that I need a groove from this line here to this line here. So what I've done is I've transferred those lines to the edge of my stock And then I was able to use those lines as a reference for the bit and put registration marks here on my fence for where to start. So what I will do is I will hold it to my registration mark, carefully lower my piece down over top of the spinning bit, and then I will carefully run it along the fence until I get to my stop point, at which time I will lift it up over and be done with the groove. And we can see how well that worked out and how clean it is. And of course, it fits our piece beautifully. Now, one of the last things we need to do is to add some finger grip holes here. Things like the actual guns, whether it be the Beretta or whether it be the Remington, they both have the trigger holes that you can put your thumb in and basically pull the weapon out. These pieces here, they all pivot out just fine. This piece here, everything is fine except for the pellet container. I find it very awkward trying to get a grip on this. So for that, we're going to use the oscillating drum sander to sand in a couple of finger depressions. And we're going to do the same on this end here, which houses our little 8-shot magazines for the Beretta. Well, now that we have our inserts all cut to the way that we like them, everything fits the way that we like. We have our thumb releases cut out in order to be able to pull out the items that might give us some difficulty. I want to glue these MDF boards into my case. And for that, I'm just going to use a little bit of glue on the MDF, not a lot. I don't want this stuff squeezing out everywhere. Just a touch of glue around the main areas, and then once I get that done, we'll sit it into place. The next piece will get the same treatment with just a little bit of glue on it, and again we'll just lower it into place and let it completely set up, let it completely dry before we move on to any other steps. Now let that fully set up. Now that the insert is all dried into place, the next thing that I want to do to kind of give the inside of the case that finished and professional look is I want to flock that insert. And it's not a hard process. In fact, it's quite easy. But to explain it, it is another show in its entirety. And I do have a show on the channel about how to flock your projects. I'll put the link for that below. But you can see here that it's kind of a messy process, but in the end, when you're finished with it, it looks great. And there you have it. A custom case interior. Guys, this project is as versatile as it comes. You can make it for anything you want. Between making the case using the finger joints or whatever method you want, to making the insert using your scanner or a photocopy machine, or just simply tracing it to make the cutout to custom fit those pieces that you want to put inside the case. It is absolutely incredible and looks so professional. It just looks great. Guys, I'm hoping that by the time this show airs, I will have been able to track down some black egg carton style foam to place into the lid of this. And that's what I would like to be able to put in there to hold everything in its place and into its divots and keep it secure so it's not rattling around on the inside. That might be something that you may want to add to your case as well. Guys, this project is not about a gun case, because that is not what I'm teaching you how to make here. What it is being able to take something that you have and make a custom case for it. Say a pair of calipers that you really like, your digital calipers, or maybe your favorite measuring tool, or who knows, that method that I showed you with the router, being able to put that groove. How about applying what I've shown you here and being able to make, oh, I don't know, custom cases for the pens that you turn on the lathe to be able to give as gifts to your friends and family. The project literally is limitless. You just got to build the case and want to fill it. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. I hope you're going to try it for yourself, and I also hope that you're going to join me again for yet another woodworking video.